This whole concept of unconscious bias, and what you need to do is you'll see that in companies we talk a lot about performance bias, right? When they are reviewing women versus when they're reviewing men, there is generally a bias that comes up. And actually there was a very interesting study that showed in US when they are looking at musicians, right, for the orchestra. They found that, generally you play, the conductor will choose you. So when they put a curtain between the player and the conductor, they found that 33% more women were chosen versus when you didn't have that curtain. And actually, I've heard we work a lot with corporates, and we are seeing that actually some of the corporates are being very innovative, and they are using AI and some of the systems to remove that bias from the evaluation process. So if they find that, hey, your manager, because of certain things, that it's being biased, they will kind of flag it and be able to correct it. So performance bias is something that we really see a lot in industry, and there's been a lot of studies around it. Performance attribution, and again, this is just something that I see a lot of that also in the younger generation, is that saying that, hey, you're naturally talented, right? Or you got lucky, versus really saying, no, it's your contribution. And, a lot of, actually, just because this gender dialogue is going on, a lot of younger girls who come to who are going to colleges and they get accepted in large MNCs, the sad thing is the other gender will say, hey, you got selected because of your gender and not really of your capabilities. And really we need to make sure that we educate and tell girls how to handle it. And again, this whole thing about women, right? So even in the book, when we were researching these women, a lot of them said that, hey, my personality was like quarrelsome, right? I was the troublemaker. So women are supposed to be these nice social creatures, and the moment you raise your voice or you kind of put your opinion in front, you are kind of branded as this quarrelsome, which is not a womanly quality, and then it becomes against you. So I think part of it is just making sure that those unconscious biases that are coming up, they're flagged in the companies, and your HR is aware of it and sets up policies to address them. So this is another one that I see a lot, right? So I'll read it out to you. So there's a meeting, there's a lot of men, and the meeting convener says, that's an excellent suggestion, Ms. Trix. Perhaps one of the men here would like to make it. And the idea is, I don't know if you get this or not, right? In a meeting room, it generally happens. You think, didn't I just say this? And suddenly the men will echo exactly the same thing. And they'll be like, yes, of course. And I know that I have personally faced it. And again, part of it is to be aware and saying, no, hey, but I really said that, right? And how many of us say that is important, right? So there's a very interesting study done about role models, right? So we were talking about role models and the importance of role models, and you'll have to keep me on time, so just give me a 5-minute term. So this is a very, very interesting. This is a Professor Raj Chetty, who's at Stanford, and he did this where he analyzed 1.2 million data point patents, right? Who is filing patents? And this is again United States, because again there's a lot of data available, right? So guess what? Who is filing patents in United States? Yes, men, but more importantly, they found that children right from high income families are the ones who are holders, right? The top patents come from that. So now you say why, right? So that's where the questions become interesting. Why is it that a high income family is 10 times more likely to file patents, given that the mathematical capabilities, so they looked at the mathematical capabilities in grade 3, and saying that for all children who have the same capabilities, then the effect comes up, right? So you're not saying that, hey, it's because I don't have varying capabilities. You have kind of equal leveled the playing field. Everyone has the same capabilities in math and science, and still you find that people from very rich families are 10 times more likely to be patent holders. And part of it is, this exposure to innovation. And this is where, this whole, what we talk about ecosystems, where they find that clusters of regions, where you have industry, where you have universities, where you have people working in them, those kind of clusters foster innovation and more of the innovative mindset. And so they did this experiment in New Jersey, where they exposed these kids from schools to early age to innovation to industry, and you found that there was that delta decreased. So very, very important that it's not just, hey, it's my DNA, right? It's part of it is that exposure to those regions and ecosystems. And of course, women and disadvantaged children were underrepresented in patents, and the reason is this whole concept of role models. If you don't have, and they're showing that gender-related role models are very, very important. The more women role models we have as inventors, the more women will see kids who will become inventors. So, very interesting study. Another one is that, this thing about role models, okay, you're a role model, but what do you do with it, right? What is it about role models? So, this concept of mentoring, and I think this is something that I would recommend each and every one of you to take to heart. So this is about, we did a study at ISB about mentoring and understanding from our alumni group, who is it, what is it about mentoring. So it's interesting, right? So we said, hey, do you have a mentor at work? Only 37% have mentors at work. 63% do not have mentors at work. So okay, maybe you don't have it because you don't want it, right? So we asked, would you like one? Of course, 96% said yes, they would like one. So they were ladies. So this is a career trajectory survey that we did for women alumni of ISB. And again, now we have opened it up to other industries. So we'd love to partner with other organizations, especially FICCI and FLOW, and kind of build on this conversation. And when we ask them, right, how many of you are mentors to other women? Again, only 50% of them. So yes, we want mentors, but we don't have one, but we are also not willing to be one. So maybe I'd love to ask you here, how many of you are mentors? Yeah, but this doesn't even reflect 50% of my data. So let me ask those who have not raised their hands, why are you not mentors?
Willing to be a mentor.
Willing to be a mentor, fantastic, okay. Maybe why, I'm sure you're here, there's some experience you have. Why are you not a mentor? Think about mentor as not only this person who has achieved nirvana or who has been on the stage and that's the only person who can be a mentor. I think it's very important that each one of us can be a mentor. We all have our own experiences that can be shared, and believe me, the next generation, like as I work with tier 2 colleges, I think they are starved for that mentoring, right? They need that mentoring, they need the guidance. You are here, you have made it to a certain level, your experience counts because they have no experience.